Let's talk about the poem My Master, written by Vallathol Narayana Menon today. Vallathol Narayana Menon, of course, doesn't need an introduction for a Malayali because he is one of the most popular names in Malayalam literature. And this poem again, My Master, is a translation of Vallathol Narayana Menon's Ente Gurunathan. I guess many of you must have studied the poem in your school classes. This is a poem that expresses the deep admiration and the awe which Narayana Menon felt for Gandhi the leader and Gandhi the person. Now, Gandhi is the father of our nation and he is an exemplar of various qualities like courage, honesty, patience, mental strength, and so many good qualities we usually attribute to him. And this poem is written by a person who takes Gandhi for his role model and who believes that Gandhi is one of his kind and that we, the rest of humanity, would immensely benefit from learning from the example of a person like Gandhi. Let's go to the poem. Here he says in the first stanza that to Gandhi all creatures were his family, whether it be plants or whether it be grass or even a grub or maybe a tiny worm or an insect. He considered all of them his kin. Kin here means relations or family. And Gandhi is a person who achieved greatness by being humble. It is his humility. The lower he the lower he brought himself towards the poor people, towards the downtrodden sections of the society, the higher he grew in esteem. And that is why he says here, through lowliness he reached heights. And he is a person who was just not an ordinary human being, but he was almost a sage in his wisdom. And the poet uses a series of metaphors. Now you know what a metaphor is. A metaphor is when you compare, to give clarity to a certain idea, you compare it to something else. Like you would say, camel is the ship of a desert. What you mean to say there is that it is as useful to a person living in the desert as a ship would be to somebody in the sea. Same way here, the poet uses many metaphors to bring out the purity, the greatness of this person called Mahatma Gandhi. The first metaphor he uses is that of the sky. Now he says that sometimes the sky may be decorated with stars burning bright. At some other times this very same sky may look dirty because it's filled with black clouds. But whatever happens, the sky always remains untouched by all these, whether it is the star, whether it is the clouds, they just pass away, whereas the sky remains untouched. Now what the poet wants to convey here is that Gandhi is above all such earthly and worldly vices and virtues. He stands above all of us and nothing can enhance him or make him degrade him, because he has already reached a level of greatness where he is detached from everything else. And then the next comparison is to a sacred stream, a stream that is full of pure water and which is uninfested with any foul creature. Again he compares Gandhi to an auspicious lamp which emits no smoke. Only brightness comes out of the lamp. There is no smoke that spoils the clarity, the brightness of the flame. Another comparison is to a treasure trove. A treasure trove. Now here what he means to say is that Gandhi is a treasure trove. He's filled with so many good qualities, as we said earlier, like honesty, truthfulness, compassion, love, kindness, courage, and there is nothing bad about him. And one more comparison to the lustrous moonlight. Now, moonlight, we know, when compared to the sunlight, is less harsh, it's softer, it's cooler, and it soothes a person, and so it does not cast any frightening shadows. And that is why he says that his love is like the lustrous moonlight. Now, Gandhi fought many battles, because we know that he was in a forefront warrior. He was instrumental in bringing freedom to our nation, but all these battles he fought without any weapons. So then what were the weapons that he used? He used the weapons of non-violence. He used the weapons of bloodless methods like non-cooperation, civil disobedience, where people did not attack each other. They just practiced restraint, and through that he was able to defeat even the great empire called Britain. And he teaches virtue, lessons in virtue without a textbook. Now, how does he do that? That is because his life itself is a textbook from which we can learn valuable lessons. He doesn't need to prescribe a book to teach us a lesson. From his very experiences, he teaches us what it is to sacrifice. He teaches us what it is to be compassionate. He teaches us how to be understanding to others. And again, he teaches us how to be strong in the face of even the most difficult challenges. So he doesn't need a book to teach us things, but he himself is a lesson to us. And he can cure illness without drugs. So what he means there is that he's talking about the illnesses of the mind. Illnesses of the mind like selfishness, pettiness, hatred. So Gandhi had medicines for all this, because with his life, with the experiences that he went through, he taught us that human beings have so much of love and compassion, so much of inner strength that can help us overcome even the greatest difficulty. He taught us the valuable lesson of sacrificing, of thinking about others before us, of placing the other's happiness before our own happiness. In the next stanza, he goes on to say how Gandhi held non-violence as his policy lifelong, and peace was his household deity. He was a strong worshipper of peace. At any time, he did not allow anger or hatred to take the better of him. And he believed, from what the poem says, I just read this from here, the shining armor of non-violence can blunt the sharp edge of even the hardest sword. So when a person comes to attack you and you retort with a smile, or you retort with a peaceful word, even the most ferocious opponent might be totally taken aback for a moment, and he might put his sword down. So that is the message that Gandhi tells us, that violence should not be dealt with violence, but on the other hand it should be dealt with peace. Then the next stanza is about the wise words of Gandhi, and he says that when Gandhi speaks, it is not a human being we are listening to, but it is Dharma himself who is talking to us. Now, Dharma is the ability to distinguish between right and wrong, knowing what is right, standing along what is right even in the most difficult situations. And so Gandhi was able to be wise, be patient, and each word is a lesson, and they are the sweet outpourings of a person who has already reached the utmost level of happiness, who has understood the absolute reality of life, and only such person can express such inner harmony. So his words are worth listening and following. And he talks about Gandhi using Om as the bow and the soul as the arrow, and Brahman being the target. So Brahman again is absolute reality, or the ultimate truth for which saints go to the Himalayas and spend years in penance there. This person had already understood the absolute reality, and his entire life was targeted towards moksha, or reaching that oneness with God, which most of us can only dream of. And then he makes a comparison of Gandhi to all the great men who we remember and admire for their greatness. For instance, he says that Gandhi's renunciation, his will to sacrifice, reminds us of Christ, who gave up his life on the cross in order to for the salvation of his brethren. And again he talks about Lord Krishna, who was able to give the right kind of advice in order to preserve dharma at the right time, whether it was to Bhima or whether it was to Arjuna. He could give the right kind of encouragement so that they would always stand on the side of truth. And so sometimes Gandhi exhibits all this wisdom of Lord Krishna, and he followed the ahimsa, like the path of ahimsa, like the Buddha. He had the wisdom of Sri Shankara, and he had the compassion of Ranti Deva. Gandhi is also compared to Ranti Deva. Now Ranti Deva's name may not be very familiar. We know who Christ is, and we know Lord Krishna and Buddha, but Ranti Deva, you may not have heard of him. Now he is a legendary character, a king who was a staunch devotee of Lord Vishnu, and it is said that there was a famine in his kingdom and there was no food, and day by day things got worse, and finally there was very little food left. Animals and people died because of the famine, and there came a day when there was just one small bowl of porridge left for this king and the family, and when they were about to eat that, a person who was in greater need came and asked for food, and he gave a part of that to the person who came, and then two more people came to partake of this little food he had, and he very happily gave them the remaining food. And it was at that time that goddess Maya, she made her appearance, and this was actually a test by goddess Maya, a test of his devotion to Lord Vishnu. And she came there and she told Ranti Deva that she'll return all his wealth, that she'll remove the famine from the nation, provided he starts worshipping her instead of Lord Vishnu. And Ranti Deva, who was very strong in his faith, said that he would not do anything that would take him away from his belief, which would take away his faith in Lord Vishnu, and he said he is ready to suffer to any extent, but he will not worship another god. And with this, Maya disappears and Lord Vishnu appears, and Ranti Deva is rewarded for his devotion and faith. So that is Ranti Deva, the compassion that he had. So Gandhi too similarly was always willing to share whatever he had, and he was so compassionate that he was willing to suffer for the sake of others. And then another comparison is to Harishchandra. Harishchandra, of course, I guess I don't have to tell you anything more about him, because he is supposed to be the epitome of truthfulness and honesty. So let's not go into the story of Harishchandra. So Gandhi in his honesty is compared to King Harishchandra. And the next comparison is to Prophet Muhammad. It says here in the poem, Gandhi had the dauntless constancy of Muhammad. Now Muhammad here, as I told you, refers to Prophet Muhammad, and here what the constancy refers to is the fearlessness of Prophet Muhammad when it was revealed to him. Now he was an ordinary person, and it was later on that he got a divine revelation that his work, his mission thereafter was to spread the word of God, to spread Islam. And he faced many difficulties, many obstacles, but he was fearless, he was dauntless, as it says here. He was constant. Nothing, not even the greatest temptation, could shake his faith in Allah and in his mission. And he practiced what is termed as sabr, or the infinite patience, which helped him to stand steadfast against all temptation. And this is because he had such complete faith in God and in himself. And a similar trait is often exhibited by Gandhi too, where in the most difficult situations he stood strong in whatever he believed in. Now we know that during the time of the partition, Gandhi very strongly, he knew that he was earning the enmity and the animosity of the majority of the Hindus, but yet he was able to stand strong and say that we should take care of the Muslims in this nation. And this is the stand that finally led to his death. So he has all the qualities. So Gandhi is Christ and Krishna and Buddha and Shankaracharya and Rantideva and Harishchandra and Prophet Muhammad all rolled into one, meaning that he has all the best attributes that a human being could ever have. And so Vallathol tells us that if you want to learn something good, if you want to see a person who was so complete in virtue, just go to Gandhi or just read the experiences of Gandhi, and that would be the best lesson that you can learn in life. So the poem My Master is, as I said in the beginning, an expression of the utmost love, admiration and of all the inspiration that the person got from Gandhi. So it is the voice of a die-hard fan, a die-hard follower who's talking about his master. And this is one poem that is a tribute to this great man called Gandhi.